I have a question.
Hmm.
What's wrong with modern dating?
Everything.
You're looking at Mohamed.
Don't be afraid. I'm looking at Mohamed, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything.
Where,
Everything.
Where would you start?
Tinder is what I would equate with modern dating because it's almost like the first form of contact. And it's really a weird place because you have these weird filtered beings on there that look nothing like that in real
Creatures.
life. And guys on there, like putting on this weird persona. It's clearly not them. And then you have to like describe yourself. You have to almost sell yourself as a product.
Right.
So you brand yourself on this app. And then you get swiped on. And you meet this person. But then they still might have this up on their phone. It's really weird. It's so fucked up. I don't like modern dating anymore.
What do you think of Tinder? Have you ever used it?
Never. I've never made my profile on Tinder. Honestly, I like men who are, I would unfortunately say nowadays, brave enough to come to me.
In the real world?
In the real world,
What
yes.
kind of a barbarian are you? You want actual face-to-face communication?
Yes, this is what I really want. And so many times I lowered my criteria, but not that much to make like Tinder profile and to give to man this opportunity to date me that way, because immediately that means you're dating. And one more thing actually I don't like about that is actually you are forced somehow to call this like dinner or lunch or whatever date. So if you met somewhere on Tinder, that's officially date. So it's actually, I feel suffocated immediately when I have to go for a date with someone. So whole concept from the very beginning, for me personally, it's very wrong. Because when I meet someone, for example, in the real world, if I like this person and if we are going to have a coffee or whatever, why should we call this date? What's the difference in between that and meeting someone, let's say, in the shopping mall and having nice chat? So labeling something as a date from the very, very, very beginning, for me, it's really kind of scary. Like immediately you have certain mindset towards this person who is a stranger for you. So putting the label dating on like this human conversation, it's really unacceptable for me. So I never made a profile on Tinder, and I was never dating that way. For me, it's really something unacceptable.
If you did meet somebody that was through Tinder or through Instagram, would you feel as a woman like it was always marred by the fact that you met online and not real life?
I don't mind that,
You don't
honestly.
mind?
If I met someone, but Tinder and Instagram, you can't compare because Tinder is officially dating app. Instagram is not dating app, although it can be. But I don't feel that obligated towards the stranger if we're gonna have a coffee. It's just like someone saw my business profile because that one is unlocked. The private one is locked. So someone saw my profile. Let's say this guy likes me. I like him as well. I see he's not narcissist, maybe. So there is a hope, maybe. I mean, I'm joking now. But like Instagram doesn't have this label a dating app. So communicating through Instagram from the very beginning for me is different than talking to someone on Tinder. Because obviously on Tinder you are like, oh, I want to have a date. This is me. Would you like to take me for a date? Date. Just no. Why should we call this date? I mean, it's two strangers trying to know each other better. And immediately, if you label something as a date, I think it's kind of distortion
What's it a distortion of?
of, I think it's more performance than it's harder to remain relaxed if you labeled something immediately as a date. Because like officially you like this person and officially this person likes you, and now you have to perform to keep this vibe alive.
The dynamic, yeah.
Yes. So yeah, that's my opinion.
I could see thoughts building in your head. What were you thinking?
It's taken something as beautiful as sex. Can I say sex?
You may.
Yeah. It's taken something as beautiful as sex and intimacy, and it's dumbed it down into this product where it's like you have something that delivers your food, you have something that delivers your social media feed on Instagram or on YouTube or wherever, and then you have something that you can literally use to deliver your intimacy, and you get a little snapshot preview of it, and I think most guys today, at least a lot of my friends, the struggle that they face, in addition to being in this awkward space where when you get rejected, you don't really know. So it doesn't really give you any feedback, and they just get resentful. Like, oh, I haven't gotten any matches on Tinder. Why is that? It's like, what am I going to tell them? Oh, your profile picture isn't nice enough. It doesn't do justice to the experience of courtship,
Right.
which is really nice and fun and beautiful when you see someone that you're interested in. You have to go up and talk to them, and like Stella mentioned, like you have to be a little bit brave, right? Because you could get rejected, but that's the part
Risk.
of it. Yeah, that's part of it. And if you do get rejected, it's okay. Like, life goes on. But yeah, it's just this weird industrialized packaged, like, oh, here's your intimacy and here's your sex and here you have this huge selection of people in your city. Oh wow, I'm on Tinder, I got so many matches. It's weird.
And it's immediately
weird.
like romance.
It actually gives me anxiety whenever I think about Tinder, because it makes me feel like, I mean, I've been on Tinder. I've done Tinder dates, but something about it just makes me feel like this is not the way it should be. It feels corrupted.
Your friends who are bothered that they're not getting the dates that they feel, although they're not getting the swipes that they feel they should. What do they usually think is going wrong for them?
Oh, they think that women have something wrong with them. And I tell them, it's not women. In my opinion, it's not women. It's just the whole scene is weird. How are you going to take an entire being, like an entire person, and kind of put them in a picture and a description text, and then you sell it? So it's kind of like marketing. You need to be a slightly good marketeer. You need to Photoshop your pictures a little bit better. And that's how you could get a date on Tinder. But then when you meet in the real world, it's something else. It's like another space where you can manipulate anything.
Do you think that men who aren't brave enough to go up to a woman and ask for a date face to face shouldn't be breeding anyway?
They won't, if that's the... Yeah, I think you should. Because if you don't, what does that say about you?
Doesn't it? Yeah.
What does that say about you?
What were you going to say, Stella?
About what? Sorry, I didn't get the question.
If a guy isn't brave enough to go up to a girl and just ask her directly to her face, does he deserve to breed anyway?
To breathe.
Breed. I'm going to let him breathe. I'm not going to kill him. but would I? Do I?
This was so funny.
Breed, but breeding. So does he have the right to expect to be able to procreate?
I mean, I think it's a skill. It's a skill. He can practice.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I'm not able to talk to this woman. I'm not brave enough to talk to her. I wouldn't be able to handle all the negative emotions if she says no. But I think this kind of guy shouldn't just give up. It's a skill. He can practice. So it's not a tragedy if girls said no to someone. It's not a big deal. There is plenty of girls around him. And he's gonna like someone else in 15, 20 days, 1 month, or next year. It doesn't matter. But actually, yeah, he deserves to procreate. He deserves to breed and to breathe. But the thing is, he should practice, and that's it. It's a skill.
The reason why
I think so.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a skill. The reason why I said there's so much to unpack here, and I couldn't decide where to go first, is because like you started with Tinder, and like you could say so much about what Tinder is and what it represents, but that collusion between human entitlement and technology, there's male entitlement and female entitlement, which seems to be both very significant factors, but manifesting in different ways. But the what we got to first was the male entitlement part. Like, women should like me. They should swipe me. They should be attracted to me. Where I always think, nobody owes you anything.
Exactly.
Nobody owes you anything at all. You're not owed a wife. You're not owed children. And that my mindset for myself is like, well, if you're not talking to women, if you're not being the best you can be and going up and approaching women, you deserve nothing. You don't deserve to procreate. And
I agree.
But he can practice. This is what
he
I want to say.
he can. But I think like philosophically, we should start from like, to keep ourselves humble. Everybody should start from a bare bones mindset, and it's very harsh. I know it's harsh, but procreation is to move humanity forward. It's not to move us backwards, and it's not to create a bunch of more weak, resentful mutants, which is what we have a ton of now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
People with not fantastic DNA that in other periods would have been bred out of the pool because they wouldn't have been brave enough to approach. This is some statistic from evolutionary biology that I can't bluff, but it's like throughout history, most or a very, very small percentage of men would actually win the privilege of procreation.
Yeah.
Most would not.
Yeah.
So now you have a society where we're told, well, we're all equal. Everything's equal. Everything's fair, which it isn't, which is a very annoying piece of ideology. And it generates huge amounts of resentment. On top of that, you have the entitlement. So you're told everything's equal, which it isn't, but hold that in your head. Hold these two completely like contradictory pieces of information in your head. And you are owed something. If you fulfill certain conditions, you're owed a partner, which literally I don't believe anybody is.
No.
Owed anything. So there's always I'll address the male entitlement first, as that is for me that, and I see it particularly when I'm talking to younger men. There's even been cases, we won't say the guy's name, where there was a mass shooting because the guy felt like the good-looking girls at school should have liked him because he was physically handsome enough, which he was. His face was symmetrical, and he did have money. He came from a wealthy family, and he killed the girls that he wished would like him, but they didn't. And he killed the boys that they liked. So he killed. It was an American school,
Yeah,
and that was the target of his resentment. It's awful. It's a tragedy, and obviously he's a psychopath and a killer. I have no sympathy for what he did, but I look around and I'm like, okay, if you're going to tell people that we're all equal when we're not, and you're going to imply that everybody's entitled to live their favorite number one dream, why wouldn't there be not shootings, but massive resentment if that doesn't happen? Because it's kind of a lie, isn't it?
Yeah.
What does female entitlement look like in the dating space? What do you get annoyed with when you're speaking to your girlfriends?
I literally hate. Hate is really strong word. I know, I'm very aware of that. But I hate to hear I deserve. I really hate to hear that. And nowadays, I can hear that very often. I deserve this. I deserve that. Why? Why do you think you deserve this? And when I ask that, it's really very weird. And I am surrounded by females who are running their businesses. So it's something, I would say even it's a pattern. So if their business is not successful, but they are pushing hard, then they are like saying, even to me, you're so materialistic, you are focused on material stuff, and are you sure you're gonna be happy in your life if you have this or that when it comes to things? And then, in the same time, they are saying something like completely opposite, like, I want a wealthy man for myself. Why? Just 5 minutes ago, you told me that I'm materialistic, but you are not. And just 5 minutes afterwards, you said you want a wealthy man. So it's it's very weird.
So
and
is their position that you're making money for yourself, that's materialistic?
Yes,
But when she wants to acquire money through somebody else's work,
exactly.
that's spiritual.
And she thinks that she deserves that. So many times I've heard something like this, I would say past 2 to 3 years. So it's really weird and it's not fair, because especially nowadays when I hear these terms like femininity and masculinity, I don't know what they are talking about, honestly. I really don't know what they are talking about, because it's kind of, I deserve this because I'm female, and he should earn to cover everything because he should have the mindset of the provider.
Okay, so she's in a traditional mindset.
The problem is, actually, she's not, because she doesn't want to give a birth to 6 kids. She doesn't want to stay at home and cook the meals and to prepare the meals and to teach the children. I don't know if they are really aware what it means to have traditional mindset. So one part, what they like, they took from the modern world. One part they took from the tradition. One part they took from the religion. One part they invent themselves.
Yeah.
And then they made some like weird mess. So when I hear this term, I deserve this only because I have, yes, I dare to say vagina, I really don't understand that, because I don't think that you deserve something because of your gender. I don't understand why, in general, women think they deserve something just because they are able to give a birth.
Okay. That's interesting. What do you think about that, Mohamed?
Yeah, I see it. I see it.
You know what I'm talking
I know
about.
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, and I see it. And there are. Here's an interesting thing about being an Arab Muslim young man who's kind of got a foot in the modern Western world, but I still have strong ties to what I would call traditional women that keep getting recommended to me in our old version of Tinder, which is, let's give you an arranged marriage. And when I see the way that they behave, those women who haven't been corrupted by whatever that virus is that's making them choose this from the modern lifestyle and this from traditional women's lifestyle, I see a calm, loving, normal, just normal person who I could procreate with and have kids with. That's it. That's it. There's no like, yes, queen, I'm gonna be a boss babe. There's none of that stuff, right?
And you deserve all of this
Yeah, I did
because
that too well,
you're
by
gonna
the way.
provide
Yeah.
me a child.
Yeah, it's like I'm happy to provide to someone who I love and who would be my wife, but not if she is using me like a workhorse. Like, am I like, this is husband. It eats and it sleeps.
It's ATM.
It's
ATM.
ATM as well.
Here is my
yes.
ATM.
This
So
is
let's
my
abuse
husband.
him.
Yes, I feed it. Yeah, don't worry. It's a little bit weird and a little bit twisted. And traditional women are usually virgins who wait till they're married, or they keep their chastity, then they get married, then they have kids, and that's what you get from Iraq or Palestine, or this is the older version of Tinder that we get.
But there's actually nothing wrong with that, because they chose this lifestyle,
yes.
and I can understand why they are still like virgins.
Yeah.
And I can understand what it means for them to be housewife,
Yes.
and what it means in this kind of marriage that husband is provider. But I really don't understand nowadays women who are having like literally wild lives,
Yes.
changing partners like crazy,
Yeah.
experimenting with this and that, abusing drugs, and then talking about having a provider. And they think they deserve that. Why? Like it's really it's insult for a man.
Yeah.
It's insult for a man, in my opinion. You're not showing respect to a man, and it's not like you holding the space for a man to provide you, because you have to regulate him when he comes back at home from the war. But would you be able to regulate your man if you are full of trauma from your past and you keep on changing your partners, going on different dates every single week with the Tinder boys, and then you're talking about finding a provider who's gonna make your life what? But when we are talking about this kind of mindset and having a traditional girl who is a virgin and she wants to have like 6 kids, and she wants a husband who is provider because she's staying at home, cooking the meals, and really taking care of those kids. Yes, I can understand that. Yeah. But taking this from tradition and living like a literally wild rabbit, what's that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? Yes,
yeah,
like cats in February. You know, you're living whole your life like cats in February, and then you're talking about husband who is provider and you deserve it. How come? Yeah. Like, what's that? It's insult.
There's a term called retroactive jealousy, and it's the jealousy that you get from your partner, knowing that she's been with like, I'm talking from my subjective experience, knowing that she's been with like 10 different guys.
Yeah, for me
me.
that's called sexual arousal. Sorry, go on. I like these sporche droglies. Yes. Delicious.
Yes,
Wonderful.
yes. For me, it was debilitating, numb, impotence-inducing feelings of shame that don't even belong there.
See, my perversion is very well adapted to the modern environment. Because
you are a man, yes,
Superman.
Yes.
No, but I realize it's kind of sick, and it could have been like if you follow the Adlerian psychology, it could be that I have just reclaimed the space that was already taken. I'd be like, okay, I'm only going to be with a girl who's been with 20 other guys. Just start liking it, and I was like, okay, I like it. It's maybe, I don't know. Yeah. There's all kinds of. I mean. That's probably a topic for all of the day because it is interesting. Yeah. What were you going to say about retroactive jealousy before I?
So I met this girl. She abused the shit out of me, and then she wanted me to get married to her, and wanted me to be the provider. Blah 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 blah. But then I found the XL condoms in her drawer, and I'm like, "Who are these for?" And she's like, "My ex," and I'm like, I have now destroyed my self-esteem. I will not be marrying you, my dear. But I said nothing, and I just nodded my head and said, throw these out.
I'm not going to provide for you.
Oh, whatever I do provide for her, it's not going to be
It's not going to be enough.
It's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough. Oh, fuck.
Can I tell you my I probably have told you this story. There's a porn star called Omar. Who had the biggest dick on record in the UK. Yeah. And have I told you this?
No.
Okay, this is how I met Omar. So I was working.
It's a man.
It's a man. I was working in the Life Cafe on the Comedy Club when I was 21. And there's a girl on the coach. She's called Jermaine. She's still around in Liverpool now. She's a really nice girl. And we started dating. And she's tiny. She's a tiny little girl. Looks like an elf, little pixie. And she was like, usually I only like black fellas. I only go with black fellas. And I went, that's fine. I don't care, whatever. But let's go on a date. So we went on a date and we were seeing each other for a couple of weeks. And one night I'm working the door. So I'm letting people into the comedy club. And she's on the coat room behind me. And this guy walks in. good-looking guy with like leather pants on, no shirt, and a leather waistcoat, black fella. And from behind me, I hear, Omar, Omar. And she jumps out from the cloakroom and jumps into his arms. And he like holds on her and puts her down. And she goes, Richie, this is Omar, my ex. I went, oh, that's nice. I didn't have a clue who he was. And she said, Omar, show Richie your cock. And I went, you don't have to. I don't need to see that. I don't need to experience this.
Like genitals?
Yes, his genitals, yes. She said, you, ex-lover, show this guy, present lover, your genitals. And he pulled his leather pants down and they got halfway down his legs and the end of his dick still hadn't come out. And I went, Omar, if I could just stop you there, mate. You're ruining my life. Just pull it back up. Yeah. He's really nice. He's a super, super sweet guy. But I found out afterwards he's a porn star and he has, at that time, he had the biggest dick in UK medical history. Then that was literally my girlfriend's ex-boyfriend. And I was just like, well, this is a disturbing turn of events for me. He moved to Liverpool because this is all in the public eye. I'm not saying anything behind his back. He finally met a woman from Liverpool who just had, because he could never go all the way in. He would do half penetration. It's like a foot long, this thing.
Yeah, poor guy. He shouldn't. I mean, he should have just. If anything, he should have given it to me. I should,
Listen, he could split that in two, and we would both be very, very happy. Yeah. But yeah, that's my horrifying XL story. God knows what she was doing with him because she was tiny, physically tiny girl. But you're talking about retroactive jealousy. It's traumatic for men. We all know it's traumatic for men to think of women being with different men, but it's traumatic for women as well, right?
Yes, it is.
Because the myth that goes around is, oh, women just love alpha males, bad boys who've had loads of women and they don't mind or they think it's hot. But it must hurt a little bit.
In my own experience and my own opinion, it hurts a lot. It's not a little bit. I don't know if other girls think like this as well. I'm not sure because I don't even remember that I've ever spoke to any of my friends about this topic. This is interesting, actually. But I don't know. I used to look like a boy till I was like 16 or 17. I was like so tiny and skinny and small, while we had this, like in primary school, in secondary school, you always have this like hot girls who were something in the school. And I used to look like a boy, and it was like very weird for me always because no one thought back then that I'm attractive, and no one wanted to date me, honestly.
Right.
And no one wanted to have a relationship with me, and they were dating all these guys like other girls. And then suddenly I started to look like a woman. And
what age was that?
I would say 18. And then I don't know. You know someone's history, and in my head, I used to compare myself with his exes. And now, when it happens, if I'm dating someone and I know his ex or exes, still I jump into this pattern unconsciously. But at least now I'm aware it's just a pattern and I can change it now. I don't have to check on someone's Instagram or Facebook or talk to, I don't know, someone who knows this girl or whatever. I think in general it hurts.
For everyone.
It really hurts. Yeah, I think so, yes.
What do you think obviously in times gone by, people probably just practically you would have had less sexual partners because, well, women definitely would have done, because in a lot of cultures, if you didn't do that, you could be killed for it. Men wouldn't have, because most of us were peasants, so there's just no opportunity. It would only be the warrior class and even above, like kings, like warlords, they would. For everybody else, they wouldn't have had that many partners, right? So even the argument, oh, this is natural, I always think, I wonder when people are thinking of that it was natural to be with, like I I've checked the promiscuity scale for the UK. I'm considered highly, highly promiscuous. And I look at the numbers and I'm like, I know guys who claim 3 times, 4 times as many women as this. But even this number that I have, I'm like, when would it have been practical to do that? At any point in history. If you go right the way back to us in roaming tribes on the savannas, it's still not practical. Because everybody, if you were in a tribe of 150 people, there's like cousins and second cousins and stuff. Like, how many of your relatives are you
I'm Adam. It's nice.
I think it's related to self-respect as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Why should you share everything
Yeah.
with everyone?
Right.
You are not making this so special by like just doing sex with every single guy you meet.
Yeah.
It's a wild. I think it's just not normal. It's just not normal. I think you can't even be mentally healthy if you are changing like your sexual partners that often.
You think if a woman is promiscuous, you think she's going to become mentally unhealthy because of her promiscuity, or she's only promiscuous because she's mentally unhealthy?
For the first, I think it's the same for men and for women.
Okay.
Okay, biologically, men are different. That's 100%. And maybe, just maybe, men are able to move on easier than women. I think so. I'm not sure because I'm not living in like
A male
man's
body.
skin. Yeah, so I'm not sure. But I think because I have some male friends and I spoke to them a lot about this. And somehow they are able to move on easier than women. But I think it's related to tradition and culture as well, because guys are not judged if they are changing their partners every single week. You're not going to be that judged like women.
You might be judged highly. You might be thought of as cool or a real
Exactly.
man.
But for women, you're not going to hear like something like that. So this question is actually like, is it egg and then chicken, or it's chicken and then egg? So, but in general, I think even if women is mentally unstable and changing the partners, it's not going to help her to become more stable. And even if she is, let's say, mentally healthy and she's emotionally regulated, but she just wants to experiment and she has a high sexual drive, but she's emotionally regulated and she just wants to experiment. I think if she's changing her partners like her socks, she's going to become mentally ill because there is no structure. You can't remain mentally healthy without the structure and welcoming different guys on a weekly or monthly basis in your body.
Welcoming them into your body.
Yes.
Now, is that potentially what makes it easier for a man to, because you didn't say it's easy for men to switch partners a lot. You said it's easier.
I think so. In my opinion, it's easier.
Yeah. Okay.
Biology of man is different. Anatomy of man is obviously different. Your brain, guys, is working on a different way.
Sure.
So we are different. And now I'm not talking about, this is like weird. When I said we are different, we are not same.
Yeah.
I mean like when it comes to biology and chemistry and the hormones and obviously genitals,
Yeah.
we are different. That's a fact.
How dare you, you cisgendered fascist? What do they call people who say that we're different? The fascists, right wingers.
Crazy.
But that's obvious
Crazy,
because
yeah.
when we are on cameras now, when people see you and then they see me, we are obviously different. You're bigger than me. That's completely normal. Him as well. Like it's completely different.
Beards, genital
Yes.
shape, size, strength.
And even your genitals are
Going out.
outside. Our genitals are inside. So it's completely different.
Do you think that could be a factor in why the emotional and psychological impact is different, because you are welcoming a man into you,
Yes.
and that's what makes
Yes, it could be.
it's like a
I
vulnerable
think,
position.
yes, it could be. Because still, this is going to sound weird, but literally, when you're thinking on a practical way, you go to shower, you wash yourself, that's it, done. But with a female body,
It's still in you.
yes, it is. So if you just think this way, it's a logic. It has nothing with the science. We're not going to talk about science. We're not the doctors. That's fine. We're not going to be Karens. We're going to stay in our lane. That's okay. But if you're just using your brain a little bit to think about this and just compare the genitals and compare the routine after having sex with someone, it's way different. It's way different. So if it looks different and if it feels different and if your hygiene is obviously going different way, you're going to feel different than a man. So I think it's not that smart to claim that we are same like a man. I think we are ruining ourselves that way. We shouldn't push for this position. We shouldn't compete with men. It's not smart. We're not the same. We're not built same.
Alhamdulillah. I agree.
I agree.
I have a lot to say, but you go first.
Yeah, just even what happens after sex between a man and a woman. A man is nothing changes, but a woman could get pregnant, and then she'll have physiological changes.
Sorry, are you saying a man can't get pregnant?
Yeah, a man cannot get pregnant.
I can't believe I'm sat with two such bigots.
Yeah.
She with the men and women are different. Now you're telling me men can't get pregnant.
Man can't
Who
get pregnant.
do you think you are?
I'm a man who cannot get pregnant.
Why you cannot? Why?
Because I got a dick and balls. I can't get pregnant.
Yeah.
But sometimes women can also have a dick and balls. It's from the forearm. They take,
It's not real.
I'm
How dare you?
Stunned.
How dare you?
Stunned
Real.
to hear that
So
this
if I-
poorly
so-
formed penis that doesn't work, doesn't give pleasure, and won't become erect without
So-
massive assistance.
So if I wear really tight underwear and draw a vagina on myself, I can become a woman?
I'm not even sure.
No.
I'm not even sure this is releasable at
Yeah,
this
I
point.
can't, yeah.
Just have a handbag, lipstick. That's it. You're a woman. I just want to circle back this thing of multiple partners. You have been a sporkedroja, which means a dirty slut in your life.
Yes.
Did you find it emotionally dysregulating?
Yeah, I felt horrible.
Okay.
And I jumped from one person to one person on Tinder.
Yeah.
And I even, I'd set up because I did it. Oh, here's the funny part. I did it because I thought, this is what a stud does. This is what a man does.
Yes.
And then I ended up having a lot of sex and then crying myself to sleep like a little boy.
You cried like a little boy in the end. Yeah. So what Stella said was, I agree, but it's when people hear it, they'll get confused. What Stella said is, it's easier for a man to do it, which I agree with. It's not the same thing as saying it's easy for a man to do it.
It's easier. But it's not
All the guys I know who do it, who used to do it when we were younger, that I knew from the door, they all went crazy. Like bonkers. You to look at their Facebook page and you'd be like, this is an insane person. They've got wives and kids now, but they say weird. They're very dysregulated, very, very dysregulated. When I was doing it, I was the same. I'd be tearful. I'd be like emotional, up and down. I'd listen to sad music and my eyes would well up and I'd be like, what? You're winning. Like you're winning this game that you've been told by culture you should be playing, which is to just experience as much pleasure as you can with as many different people as you can. And if the girl's good looking or younger or has a bigger this or a different shape, then that's winning. Why don't I feel like I'm winning?
Speaking of game,
Yeah.
one thing this all came, my ability to do all of that, because I'm a short, pimply, hairy, dirty man. But my ability...
We both think you're handsome, but crack on.
Thank you. My ability to get all of those girls on Tinder, because my Tinder was like, I had like 150 matches and all my guy friends were like, how do you do it? I'm like, because I'm think a little bit and I use Photoshop. Anyway, yeah.
It's called Cunning.
It's called Cunning, exactly. But I employed all of these skills because I went and I delved into PUA culture and I delved into PUA books, which teach you a bunch of dumbass cues that are going to make you quote unquote more attractive, you know, take up more space, be a little bit witty and charismatic, blah, blah. I'm like, by the end of it, I couldn't hold down a relationship because it taught me all of these weird surface area things. What am I going to do? PUA my wife?
Right.
Walk up to her and be like,
I'm peacocking. Look at my feather boa.
It's so stupid. It's so
She'd
stupid.
be like, that's amazing. Do the dishes and get out of my fucking face.
Exactly. PUA does not make you a man. It makes you a boy with specific
With
traits.
STDs.
With STD.
It's really weird, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're short for time because the time went really, really fast there. You mentioned, I wanted to say something on behalf of feminists. I've gone public saying I think feminism is cancer. I've said it multiple times. But really, I'm talking about modern feminism. And I think like what the suffragettes did was worthwhile. The British suffragettes, where they fought for the vote. Maybe first wave feminism as well. I can't look into your eyes or my sister's eyes, but both women with businesses who I care about, and be like, you should just submit to a man. And the man that you're with should be ordained by an older man. And you should just submit to that. So there's that slightly feminist, I'm not a feminist, but there was an impulse in me to say, we have to consider the possibility that abuse occurs. And then what should women do? Like in the market that's there now, I have nothing to say to Stella. I have nothing to say to my sister or to Stella. My sister's single in terms of like getting with a man. I daren't even say, hey, go and date, because date what? Date who? I'm not even sure what point I'm trying to make is like, there has to be, we can't go backwards. What do we do from here? Because women have to have agency to protect themselves. They have to have the capacity to make their own money, I think. Because if you're in an abusive relationship and you don't have money, what are you going to do?
You're just stuck.
She needs a wali.
She needs what?
A wali. We have this in Islam.
What's a wali?
A wali is basically the brother or the father or the uncle or some man in contact outside the relationship that the woman is involved in that she can go to at any time and say, I'm not liking this. He's doing X.
Are you saying that Islam solved all these problems over 1,000 years ago? That seems a lot of our conversations used to go in that direction. So Islam has something set up for this, for female protection.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And it's a wali.
Yeah, there's a lot of people think of Islam and they think like, oh, the president is like, no, it protects women quite a lot. So yeah, they'll have a wali.
Okay.
Basically, just to put it in modern day perspective, it would be just have someone that you can rely on. That's a close individual that you can confide in.
Yeah.
So never be alienated and isolated.
Right.
Because that's where we spoke about that last time. That's where it occurs.
Yes, is the alienation. What do you think, Stella?
I think all this thing with feminism is very weird. Why? Because women were fighting for the rights. It's kind of confusing as well. Women were fighting for the rights. And then, yes, we do have all the rights. And now you have so many women who are fighting to go back to that situation before women started fighting for the rights.
You mean fighting to go back to a traditional...
Exactly. While they are living modern lifestyle.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You're saying you don't like to see women trying to take the best of both worlds?
No. 100% no.
Because it's hypocritical, or?
It is hypocritical. It is hypocritical 100%. It's 100% hypocritical. Because now with this one leg, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to be independent. And then if this battlefield feels very unsafe, then I can take something from these traditional values, because there I feel like more protected. So I'm going to fight for that because I'm female and I want to be protected. But as well, if I succeed by any chance on this battlefield, and business is a battlefield, then I'm very like independent as I should be. So it's a mess. It's a mess. I think in general, people are talking about this too much. Things are really, really simple. It's a 21st century. Yes, you should be independent because it's normal. This is something what makes you an adult. It's not something wow, you're just an adult. You're paying your rent, you're paying your bills, you're paying yourself nice things if you want and you have this desire, why not? And that's not something, oh, it's burden on me because it's 21st century and society is putting this cross on my back and put me. No, it's not. Because you have 2 legs, you have 2 arms, you have a brain, you have certain talents, you have tools, use it. Don't be lazy. And yes, you should be independent. And it has nothing with femininity. You just have your dignity. You just have
not as a woman, but as an adult.
Person.
Yeah.
As a person. So this is what I want to say. I think this whole philosophy about femininity and then masculinity and then it's like distortion, it's a disbalance. Then I'm gonna live like a wild rabbit or cat. But if I meet like wealthy man, then I'm gonna be a housewife. But just 1 year ago, you were dreaming about having a business. What happened with that? You know what I mean? It's really like, what's going on? Just 2 legs, 2 arms, brain, heart. You have your dreams, desires, whatever, wishes. Just be independent because it is normal. It has nothing with femininity or masculinity or disbalance or this or that. It's just dignity. It's not the rights. It's basic thing. You're human. It's 21st century. It's so many opportunities around us. Travel, earn your money, pay your rent, pay your bills, learn like foreign language. Like why we're making like this like drama about all of that, you know, like it's,
I think the drama is a lot of people will hysterically fight back against what you're saying because what they're secretly hoping for is something more advantageous to be given to them.
Because it's so hard on this battlefield. And I'm going in this corner where I'm safe, in this like rabbit hole actually.
Yeah.
And then I'm living in the modern life because wealthy man is paying for all of that, and me because of my.
It's bet hedging. It's bet hedging. You're saying I want to live in medieval chivalry coordinates if the weather goes this way, but then I want to be a boss bitch and shag around like Carrie in Sex in the City if it goes this way.
Exactly, and like I'm a woman. And that represents chaos, like femininity represents chaos. So yes, I can change my mind every single day. I would say this is like emotional dysregulation, and it's something for a therapist, and it has like nothing with being like feminine chaos. It's not interesting at all. So I think it's childish.
So a solution that could be agreed upon is then everybody should be making money.
Yes.
I think capitalism and money is a big part of it. And I think a lot of women who thought they were signing up to feminism in the 40s and 50s were actually just being pushed into the workforce. They were just being told, they just doubled the workforce. I think it really was, it started with good intentions, but then became a psyop. And we now live in the hangover of that psyop. What were you going to say, sir?
No, I just agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I agree.
what's alternative? You know, why you shouldn't be working? What is your alternative? I really...
OnlyFans.
That's very civilized and
that's the nice,
progressive.
That's the nice version.
And like, what's that? Oh my God, no.
We'll have to come back to this topic. We've run out of time.
Yeah.
But, Mohamed, Stella, thank you. Where can they find you on social media if they want to look you up?
You can find me on Instagram on warrior.athletics.
Stella, where can they find you?
Strong with Stella, Instagram.
Ladies and gents, thank you very much for your time and for your attention. We look forward to seeing you again next time. Cheers.